Hi guys, welcome to a new post. This is the drafting for the making of this 6 pieces blouse. If this is something you're interested in, keep watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you'll be notified whenever I make a new post. Thank you. Now the first thing I'll be doing is to get my basic bodice. For this, I'll be marking my bust point, which is 10 inch. I'll also be marking my under bust, which is 13 inch. My half length, that's my waistline, which is 16.5, and the full length of this top, which is 22 inches, but I'm making this 23 because I just want to add the allowance inside the pattern paper. After marking the points, I'll be using my ruler to connect the lines across to give me a straight line, just like you see me do. So I'll just be labeling, this is my bust point line, my under bust line, my waistline, and this is the blouse length. Now the next thing is to mark my shoulder, which is my actual shoulder divided by 2, 7.5, my neck depth and width, which is 3 by 3, using a curve to get my neckline. Now on my shoulder point, I'll be going down by 1 inch to get my shoulder slope, and I'll be connecting it to the neckline. Now for my armhole line, which is also my chest line, I'll be coming down by my bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1.5. I got a point and I'm just extending the lines and labeling it chest line. I mark the same thing I have on my shoulder line on my chest line and then use the ruler to extend the lines to create my armhole line. On my chest line, I'm going to be marking my bust circumference divided by 4, which is 9.5. I'll get the midpoint of the line here, just like you see me do. I'll go in by 1/2 inch. This is to get my armhole curve. Then I'll connect the 3 points together like so. Now for my dart, I'll be taking my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 8 inches divided by 2 will give you 4, and then I'm just marking it across all the lines that I have. I'll use my ruler to connect the points together to give me a straight line, just like you see me doing. Now on the smaller part that's facing the center front, I'll be going out by 1/2 inch on the waistline, the under bust, and the blouse length. And on the bigger side, that's the part facing the side front, I'll be going out by 1.5 inches on the under bust, the waistline, and the blouse length line. If you're on the bigger side, you can do 2 inches. If you're on the smaller side, you can do 1 or 1.25. I'll be using my ruler to connect the lines across just like so. Now I'll be using my curve rule to connect the point that I've made to the bust point line. Just watch what I'm doing. I'll connect like this to the bust point line, and then I'll also connect the other part, getting a curve to the bust point line. Now this is a princess dart, so it will be connected to the armhole. To get the exact point where it will be connected, I'm going to take my armhole measurement, divide it by 2 to get the midpoint. I'll mark a point wherever the midpoint is. Then I'll be connecting it to the bust point using my curve. I went up a little bit from my bust point just to avoid pointiness on that area. It should be round and not pointy. Now after connecting the lines, on both sides of the lines, I'll be going out by 1/2 inch on both sides, and then I'll be connecting them also to the bust point, just like you see me do. Now if I was redoing this whole thing, what I would have done differently is to take 1 inches on both sides, or at least 0.75 instead of 0.5 inches, because by the time I was done making the top, I had to tighten it a little bit on this armhole area. So you might want to do your 0.5 inches or 1 inches. I also came out by 1 inch on this point, and then I went out by 1 inch on the armhole to give me a new armhole curve. Please just watch what I'm doing. So doing this cancels out the previous armhole to give me a new one. So since I've already imputed my bust circumference divided by 4, the next thing is to join my allowance and also my sewing allowance. That's what I'll be doing on this line. My waist is 28 inches, which will give me 7 inches. I added the 2 inches that I'll be cutting out. I added 1 inch to join my dart and another 1.5 inch as my allowance. So when I'm cutting this pattern, I will not be adding any allowance because I'm already adding all of my allowance in my pattern. So as I was measuring for the hip line, I realized that my pattern would not be enough, so I just added a little bit of paper to extend my pattern, and then I imputed my hip measurement divided by 4 plus my sewing and joining allowance. After marking on my point, the next thing is to use my curve rule to connect. So I'll just be connecting from the chest line to the waistline, like so, and from the waistline to the blouse length, which is my hip line. So because I do not want the lower part of the side to be very pointy, I decided to come up by 1 inch, 1.5, 2 inches, whatever you like to do, just to curve it in a little bit to avoid it being very sharp at that area. I think I came up by 1.5 inches and then just connected to the line. It was when I was done filming, I realized that this wasn't very, very visible, but that is exactly what I did. Now, before I cut off, I'll just go ahead to add half an inch allowance to the shoulder, which is going to serve as my joining allowance. Now, I'm just going to cancel out the part that I'll be cutting out, so you won't be confused. Cancel it out. Those are the part that I'll be cutting out. After that, I'll just go ahead to cut out carefully, following the lines that I have already made. Please just watch what I'm doing. If you see it properly now, you'll see the curve on the side. That's the curve because I do not want that point to be sharp pointed. So after I was done cutting, this is exactly what I have for the front pattern. Now we'll move over to the back pattern. As you can see from the pattern, I already made space for my zip allowance, which is 2 inches. I'll go ahead and mark the exact same thing without the underbust. I'm marking the bust point, the waistline, and the full length. I'll use my ruler to draw a line across. So I'm just labeling bust point, waistline, and blouse length. The next thing is to mark my shoulder depth and width. For the width, it will be 3 inches. Guys, the front and the back is always the same. But for the length, this will be 1.5 inches. I'm just going to connect across to the zipper allowance. I'll also be marking my shoulder divided by 2, which is 7.5. Come down by 1 inch to get my shoulder slope. Just like I did for the front, I'll also get the chest line for the back, mark a point and rule a line across, label chest line. Get my shoulder measurement, mark a point and rule a line across to get my armhole line. I'll get the midpoint of this line, mark a point there, go out by half an inch, mark a point there. On my chest line, I'll also get my bust measurement, mark a point, and then connect the 3 points together, just like I did for the front. So I'll also be marking 4 inches across all the lines to get my dart, just like I did in the front. Use a rule to draw a line across all the points that I have made. And on the waistline, I'll be coming out by half an inch on both sides of the line. And then I'll connect like so to my bust point and my blouse length to get my dart. Now for the back dart, you can also choose to get it from the armhole to make a princess dart, but I don't want that, so I'll be using a shoulder dart for this. I'm just going to get the midpoint of whatever is left and then use a line to connect to the bust point line, just like this. So I'll just be imputing my measurements. I've already gotten my bust point. I'm just going to be adding my allowance. On the waistline, my waist circumference divided by 4, my stitching allowance and my joining allowance. I'll repeat the exact same thing for the blouse length, and then I'll be using my ruler to mark a point across to get my blouse. Also on the sides, because you don't want it pointy, you're also going to come up by the exact same thing you came up with from the front. I tried to use my front pattern to get the accurate curve so that it will be the exact same thing for the front and the back. And I'm just going to use my ruler to connect it like this. Now for my zipper allowance, to reduce the bulge, you're just going to go in by 1 inch on the sides of your zip. Just watch what I'm doing. This is just going to help eliminate zipper bulge. You can choose to add the ½ inch you have taken on the side of your waistline, but I want mine snatched, so I decided not to do that. So that's the point you're going to be cutting out. I'm just marking them so it will be easy to work with. I'm going to go up by ½ inch on my shoulder line to get my joining allowance for the shoulder. Use my ruler to connect, and then I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out following all of the lines that I have made. Please watch carefully so you don't cut out where you are not supposed to cut out. So after I was done cutting out, this is what I have for the back pattern, and this is what I have for the front pattern. So I'm just labeling center front, this is the side front, this is the center back, and that is the side back. Now to form my 6 pieces, I'll be separating them. I'm going to be doing the center front and the center back first because they just need to the flare on one side, because this is going to be cut on fold. Both the center front and the center back will be cut on fold, so you're just adding the flare on one side. Now I cut out a piece of paper that is 4 inches wide and at least 8 inches long, and I'm just using my sellotape to connect it to the side, just like you see me doing. And then I'll be extending this by 3 inches. You can choose to do bigger or smaller depending on how wide you want your 6 pieces flare to be. And then you're just going to connect from your waistline to that 3 inches, and then you're just going to cut out. That's all you need to do to get your flare extension. That's your 6 pieces. So I'm just going to be cutting this out, and this is what it should be looking like when you're done. So I'm just going to come up by 1 inch on both sides and curve it in, just to reduce the pointiness on that area. Now for the side front and the side back, I added that piece of paper on both sides. That's the difference between the center and the side. For the side, you'll be adding on the both sides. Just cut out a piece of paper that is at least 4 inches wide and 8 inches long. So you're just going to repeat the exact same thing you did. Now for the side, because this is a little flared out, I decided to do 2.5 inches on the side. So we'll just mark 2.5 inches on the side and then connect to the waistline. Just the exact same thing you did for the center back. Connect just like so. Set it aside. Repeat the same thing for the side back. Now after I was done with that, it's just to cut it out the same way you did for the center. So when you're done cutting out, don't also forget to go up by 1 inch or whatever you choose to go up by, and just remove the sharp edge from the sides as well. When I was done, this is what the side front and side back looks like. And this is all for the drafting of this style. That's the front piece. This is what it looks like now, and this is the back piece. This is what it looks like now. I'll go ahead and cut out my pattern on my wrapper. If you've not added allowance, this is the point to add your allowance. That's all for the drafting. In the next tutorial, we'll be sewing this 6 pieces blouse. Don't forget to watch. See you in the next video. Bye.